What is up, guys? Eddie here, bringing you guys a brand new video, and today we are going to be looking at Legion Granblue. So this is a little bit of a follow-up to a video that I did a while ago with the Break Ride Granblue, except it's Legion now. So yeah, quick disclaimer, I do want to give a huge shout out to DJ Zero for providing me the Granblue deck list that he played with back during when this event released. Granted, a little bit of modifications per his suggestion, so a huge shout out to DJ Zero for that. But we're going to get right into the deck profile, and I'm going to explain some of the choices, because I know some of the choices seem weird from what other Granblue lists that I've seen are playing. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So first off, Peter the Ghosty. So I think this is the optimal starter for Granblue, especially in this deck where you're playing the Legion variant. While the other starters do give you a top 10 like drop one for Night Kid, and the other one gives you a free call from Drop Zone, it's better to just set up your drop zone in this deck for Legion because sometimes, as much as Granblue is, you do struggle a little bit to put cards into your drop zone. But the biggest thing is that when you are putting cards into your drop zone with like Chappie the Ghosty, and mainly just Chappie, you don't want to put those cards back when you Legion, because you generally want to keep them in the drop zone. He's also a nice draw one. This deck struggles to get cards in hand sometimes, and struggles to get PGs, so trying to dig for a PG is also really nice. And again, if you mill triggers off this effect, it doesn't feel bad either, because you can just Legion the triggers back, and it's 2 dead targets that you have in your drop zone. And moving on, we have Deadly Nightmare. So this is a grade 1 7k. He's the only 7k that we do play in this deck, but we play him at 2 because he is a Soul Blast 2 to retire a rearguard and call this card from the drop zone. Really important, because with him you can sit there and it allows you to loop Legions. And what I mean by that is that you'll have a Legion, you'll ride over it, and you can use him to Soul Blast to your Legion pair out and then re-Legion it back into the deck. I like it. A lot of people don't play this, but it's just a free 7k booster, and this deck struggles to scale, so 7k boosters are nice. And we play 2 because if one hits the damage zone, we can almost always have one in the drop zone. Next we play King Seahorse. So this is a filter. The deck needs cards in drop zone. Your drop zone is basically like your second hand, so you want to be playing the filters in this deck. Also, again, accelerating Legion, because if you draw a lot of triggers, you want to keep putting them into the drop zone and put them back into your deck. Next for not that one. Next for the most broken card in probably all of Granblue so far, Chappie the Ghosty. On play, you just put any card on play the rearguard circle. You put any card from your deck into the drop zone. Card is strong. I don't know what to say. Like, you play this at 4 because you can spot drop a lot of stuff. So you can spot drop the Deadly Nightmares, or you can spot drop the Deadly Spirits or the Night Mists, which we'll get into in a little bit. So moving on to the grade 2 lineup, speaking of Night Mist, we do play 4 Captain Night Mist. I don't recommend playing any less than this. If you have less than 4, play as much as you have, because this card is extremely important in this deck, especially when you're going into the multi-attack combo with Negrobolt, because he is an 11k attacker by himself. And a lot of you are saying, well, yeah, Rune Shade also fulfills that role, because Rune Shade, I believe, is a 12k attacker. And while that is nice, Rune Shade also mills you too, and you don't really want to be milling yourself after a certain point in this deck, because you can only Legion back so much stuff, and also you have the potential of milling triggers, which is never good. And again, early game, this card is really strong if you can put him in the drop zone with Chappie and you have another one in hand. It's the reason why we play 4, because we want to see him in the opening hand. And again, if you see him in the opening hand, you have a Chappie and you have another grade 1 ride, you ride the grade 1, you call the Chappie, you drop this, you drop Night Mist into the drop zone, and then you call the one from your hand, and Chappie and Night Mist are a 17k lane, which scales if you're going second. If you're going first, it scales over a defensive to your opponent's grade 1. So it's really nice. I don't recommend playing any less than 4, but if you don't have 4, play as much as you have. 3 is probably a okay number, but 4 is your safest bet, because again, situations where you do have to ride this, and it goes without saying that you don't want to ride this at all. Moving on to the Legion mates, we have 4 Ghoul Dragon. We don't really use this guy's effect. Like, the only time we really use it is when we're playing against Shadow Paladin or Gold Paladin, where you want to retire the Dorans and the Balins. But most of the time he's just in here because he's a Legion mate. Again, we play him at 4 because you want to be able to always guarantee that you have Legion and a Legion mate in your deck whenever you're riding the Legion leader. Another Legion mate, Peanut Blanc. Peanut Blanc is really nice because it's a free rearguard for a CB1 when you Legion. So it's nice because if you don't have the resources to call a Night Mist from the drop zone, or if you get board wiped by Brawlers and you Legion, you can immediately have a grade 2 for free, for essentially like for 1 CB without having to retire a rearguard, because again, Night Mist's skill does retire a rearguard to call itself in the drop zone. And then lastly, we have Deadly Spirit. It's the grade 2 counterpart of Deadly Nightmare. It's the same reason why we play Deadly Nightmare. He's just a free Soul Blast to call him from the drop zone. Also, the neat part about this is that if you're going second and you ride Negro Bolt, or you ride your Peanut Noir, or Peanut Noir, and you don't have any cards in the drop zone, and you don't have many cards in the drop zone, this card gets you 3 cards into the drop zone, and most of the time you will have that. You'll have this guy can get you the Legion requirement along with Peter. Is pretty much why you still play it. But again, Soul Blast 2, you can loop your Legions. It's really nice. I like it. Moving on to the grade 3 lineup, which is where things get a little touchy. We play 8 Legions because Negro Bolt is just your multi-attack. Granblue finally has multi-attack, and you can swing a face twice, which is really good. Peanut Noir actually is really good for the Link Joker matchup, either Deletors or Star Vader, but more for Star Vader, because you can retire a front row rearguard when it attacks, and you don't have to be in Legion to give himself 5k. And the most important thing here is that you're retiring a front row rearguard, so if they try and lock, you still have the front row open. And again, because Night Mist is an 11k body, if you have another one in the drop zone, this will always hit any 10k intercept, or it will always hit the Vanguard solo, which is really nice. Also, the other effect just gets you a free rearguard. When you Legion, shove the top 3 to the drop zone, and you call a card from drop zone. Really nice. Next, for a little bit of the more like I want to say not heated debate, but just a debate on what you play as your heal trigger. I prefer I prefer Night Snow, simply because he gets around delete. Deletors are really rampant right now. In ladder, you run into them pretty often. So he can ride himself from the drop zone. Not limit break restricted either. So if your opponent deletes you and your Vanguard is a grade 3, you can choose not to discard a card and just ride this card from drop zone. It's a really nice way to get around delete, and yeah, I like it. Again, really nice way to get around delete. You don't really get anything from riding it outside of that, but it's always really nice to have them in the drop zone against Deletors. And then another option that can be your heal trigger is Skull Dragon, but you don't really see too many Star Vaders on ladder right now. You see Deletors, but basically you play this because at the end of the turn turn that it attacked, you just retire it and it gives you a front row rearguard rearguard circle open. Basically the same reason why we play Peanut Noir. But this works if you have the Negro Bolt on the Vanguard circle. And again, Chappie can spot search and drop anything, so you can pretty much spot search and drop the Skull Dragon, and then to call it out later, if you so wish. Most of the time you really don't, but if he's in the drop zone and you have him against Link Joker, it's really nice. Matchups are really I'm going to show the clips of the matchups next. This is basically a bully brawler fest, kinda. But the deck performs decently well against everything in the meta except for like Bermuda Triangle right now, because sometimes you just don't have enough damage to push, and they can out Legion you, and they have their whole loop thing, and you know how Bermuda Triangle is. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye.